everybody. Welcome to Rumors versus Facts, the Georgia recruiting show sponsored by the folks at UGAsports.com. That's us. We are here to talk with you, everybody on the dog vents at UGAsports.com, and all of our YouTube members for UGA Sports Extra. We appreciate all of you being subscribers to our YouTube channel. And, of course, we love the folks on the Vault where all the recruiting goes down. The Vault's been kind of fun lately, especially this past Friday. Trent, Georgia, you joined me for the reaction show, and then we even had Jed May come on and join us as well for a time there. Lance was probably drunk or something. I don't know what the hell he was doing, probably flying to Texas. But Georgia picked up Elijah Griffin. Let's kind of start there, and we'll recap that for the folks that were actually working on Friday when the Elijah Griffin commitment went down.
Yeah, I think that's two-thirds of the big three that they want to land. And I think getting him, who originally had wanted to go all the way to early signing day. I think that was original plan, and to get him committed, get him to start. I don't know how much recruiting he'll do. He's a quieter kid, but see if you can get him on guys like Justus Terry and those type of guys, and start recruiting a little bit for Georgia. Won't hurt at all, but to get him locked up and done in October, he's just a specimen of a human being. Getting back to those defensive line days, and nothing against the defensive line, they played lights out this past weekend at Texas, but getting back those first round defense linemen that they had early to 2021 and in that group, and this is just you've landed Gibson, now you've landed Griffin, and now you want to go after and get Terry to complete that trio.
Jed, you kind of give us your thoughts this past Friday, but just a quick recap on what this means for Georgia.
Yeah, like Trent said, this is you want to build that defensive line specifically back to what it was 2021, 2022, with those game-breaking types up front. And Elijah Griffin's that guy. Isaiah Gibson's that guy as well. And he's, I wrote this in the war room that's going up tomorrow, but he is more of a three technique who you can kick inwards occasionally, whereas I think Justus Terry, if he ends up joining the class, is more of a three tech who could kick outwards, towards defensive end. So the comparison has been Jalen Carter. And I think that's kind of what you
yeah.
Something I've noticed in his game is he's a lot more consistently disruptive, which I think is something he's worked on over the past couple of years, something he's told me that Trey Scott has wanted to see in his game. And I think he does. I mean, you go now, you hear number 95 called a lot more than you did maybe a couple years ago, and it's a testament to him. And he's a guy that fits Georgia on and off the field.
I'm a big fan of him. Lance, give me your thoughts real quick. If you got something different, if you're just going to agree with those two bastards, and don't say anything.
Well, I just think that this is one that I don't know if y'all talked about on Friday that Georgia offered Elijah Griffin in the 8th grade. I mean, they were one of the first ones. I mean, they were the first ones on this kid, and it kind of seemed like a kid from Savannah is just always bound to go to UGA. I've talked to Elijah a few times. I know that that strong relationship just obviously kind of stood out, and I think that this was kind of a no-brainer for him to pick Georgia.
He's got a decent NIL deal. Not that that's surprising, but Georgia's been working very hard a lot of people want to come after him, and he's got every reason to go to Georgia. And people say, well, I don't trust recruiting anymore. He's in a good spot. It's a very, very good spot.
He's already turned down bigger NIL deals to come to Georgia. I can guarantee that.
Exactly. And that's what Georgia sells these kids on. They're like, look, we're not going to be the highest bidder. We're just not. But when you come and you play at Georgia, 12.9 million people watched Georgia take on Texas, and they saw Nazir Stackhouse get into the backfield. They saw Terry Ingram Dawkins do what he did. They saw Michael Williams and Jalen Walker go absolutely off. But, if you're a Warren Brinson future agent, you're like, okay, my man Warren Brinson was doing his job, freeing those other guys to make the huge sacks. All those guys are going to get drafted. So we're not going to give you big money up front, but we're going to put you in front of – at one point they had 14.4 million people watching that game. So we're going to get you into some – come to Georgia, and the scouts are going to see you. So that's what they sell. And that's what they're trying to sell to our next guy that we have to talk about. And I thought this was just a great situation. where we get an interview that I don't say we weren't expecting, because we could drive to Manchester to see this kid, but Jed, this just landed in your lap. You must be living
The
right.
second time that we've
he
been on a
damn
plane
near-
with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he damn near literally landed in my lap. Because the funny thing is, so me and Dash flew back from Tech. For those who haven't read the vault, me and Dash flew back from Texas yesterday. We're sitting there and we see
James Garraway says maybe Jared Curtis saw who was going to be lined up against him in practice, said no thanks.
I'm back now. I think I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi, but saw Justus and his family get on the plane. He sits actually right next to Dash across the aisle. And so when the flight ends, I'm like, "Hey, Justus, what's up? Hate to do this, but I need an interview really bad."
You didn't hate to do that. You won.
Talk into this.
Yeah. We lost him again.
And
Oh, there we go.
I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I told him I would do it when we get off the plane, and we're waiting in line to get off. And he's like, "Hey, man, we could just
do it right there." I love it.
We did it with all these people standing around. There was a woman sitting next to him who.
All right, Jed, we're losing you in and out. You might want to I'm going to drop him off. Jed, just reconnect when you get a chance. Drop out, drop back on again. Now, Trent, this comes on the heels of the fact that you put some interesting information on the dog on the vault at UGAsports.com. Kind of keeping up with this. Why the hell did he go to Texas?
Why not? You get to go watch the best game in college football over the weekend. And Texas came and they were trying to make a last ditch effort, and understandable. I mean, he's one of the top, deepest linemen in the country. At one time,
Number one, I believe.
Oh, number one. Number one defense tackle country. And at one time, USC got in his ear and persuaded him to commit over a visit high. So why not take a chance and get him? The fact that he's been on this official visit, he's come back home, even if he was sitting with Jed or Dash, and came back uncommitted. I think it's good news, the fact that he went ahead and used his official visit. It wasn't an unofficial visit. Then he turns around and takes an official visit, the first week of December or whenever, last week of November, or to get him on campus right before early signing day. So going ahead and knocking out that official visit, he got to see what he got to see. And I don't think he could have seen a better version of Georgia on defense than what he saw. And I think that was a big thing. And, you go there, and then not that it makes a big impact, but have you ever seen Georgia's fans throw stuff on the field? I mean, you probably hear stuff at different. You probably hear the language and all the stuff of dogs, humans barking at you and stuff. But
he loved that when he committed the first time.
Yeah.
He loved all the Georgia ambiance, the stupid barking, what the other fans call you stupid barking people. I personally love it. I think it's hilarious, but that's just me because I went to school there. But I'm with you. He seemed dialed into all the Georgia traditions and everything because he was such a Georgia guy. Then, like you said, he went into the USC thing.
Yeah,
I think you're right. And seeing him throw all that stuff on the field, it's like, man, what's going on here? And to see, his position groups balling out.
Yeah, and it's probably not as big a deal for Justus himself as his mom and dad are sitting there with him, and they're like, "What is this?" Like, I mean, so. Both his mom and dad didn't make the trip. It was just the three of them, and they got down there Friday. Obviously, came back Sunday with Jed, and this is the second time in 2 years or a year and a half that we have rode on a plane next to Justus Terry. So it just happens to be like Justus is following us.
And we've been to a school more than anybody. I can guarantee you that shit.
That was a new one for me. He was, as Dash posted, he was sitting next to this woman who was like, "So do you play football?" And like her and her husband were big Georgia fans, so they were talking his ear off. And I ended up doing the interview like right next to them with the woman kind of staring at me, and it was weird. I don't want to do that again anytime soon, but He's going to be back in Athens for another game. He said he doesn't know which one. I would guess the Tennessee game, because that's the marquee game. It's not UMass, it's not Tech, which is on Black Friday. So I guess Tennessee. He's going to go to Auburn when they play Vanderbilt, which I think is not this weekend but next weekend. And then it's going to Florida State for the Florida game. So,
Texas is playing Vandy this weekend.
Yeah, the
good point.
positive thing is Auburn have they won a home game all year? So
they've lost to Cal.
So I don't know. I still like Georgia's spot. I mean, I think he talked a lot about, and I asked him, I was like, hey man, what's up with NIL and this thing? And he said he's trying to make his decision like people did before NIL, is what he said. And he said he wants to be, and he's even said, development's on me no matter where I go. It's going to be on my own work ethic. So I want to go where I'm comfortable and can live for the next few years. And he's been to Georgia a ton. He knows the players on the team better than the players at other places. He knows the coaches better than he knows the coaches at other places. I mean, Alabama, I think, is the only one who can even rival Georgia in that. So I still like where Georgia is at. And again, you're going to get him on campus twice, which I don't know that any other school is going to be able to say by the time this thing is said and done.
No, I'm with you.
I also think that even though Mykel Williams isn't his exact, position on the defensive line, there, I think, isn't Terry more, a tackle? Was it five? Would you say more 5-tech, Jed?
Yeah, like 3-tech, 5-tech kind of.
But if you have them on the field together, it's probably going to be more of a him playing 5. If you're in your if you're in your normal defense, your base defense, which is basically you got your 3 defense linemen and your jack outside linebacker, then he's probably going to be more of the 5 and a Griffin at the 3. Would be my guess.
But either way, probably, I'm not Justus, but probably seeing Mykel Williams, a guy that, he's told me he's talked to a lot, Manchester and is really close to Columbus, where Mykel is from. I wonder if that, maybe kind of help, maybe sway his mind, maybe, hey, I can be this next kid, from, whatever certain area code they're from, and, make a difference like this in a game like that. Because, I've talked to Justus before, and he wants to go and play in big games. And if you go to Georgia, you're going to play in big games like this.
Yeah,
and Justus and Mykel are close. He told me that yesterday because I asked about the Auburn game, and he said, man, Mykel, he was giving me gems that I can use in my own game, about how to get off blocks and stuff like that. And I asked him at the end, because I was like thinking of every question I could ask because we weren't going anywhere, get off the plane. I was like, have the guys on the team talked about how to handle the end of your recruiting process? Mykel was like you. He was committed to USC, and then he wasn't. And they're just like, you need to take your time and make sure you're at a place where you feel comfortable. And again, because I think this was his first visit to Texas, period, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're talking about a place where you're going to be comfortable, you're going to go to a place where you've been a bunch and you know everybody. And I think Georgia checks those boxes more than any other school.
Yeah, but for enough money, you'll feel comfortable anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the ultimate variable in all this. But
I'm with you.
But yeah, I think if you're looking at all that, I think Georgia's in a good spot as of.
And it's not only Mykel, it's Trayvon Walker as well. He's close with Trayvon, and same trainer. So this goes back before Mykel as well. Being close to Mykel, being close to Trayvon, this is your 2 past 5 techs that are probably both going to be first round picks. Or Trayvon's already been, but Mykel's probably the next one. So those are 2 good guys to be close with if you're a Georgia fan. I mean,
I'm with you 100%. I was kind of being facetious, but why would he go to Texas? Why wouldn't you take the trip? But I was more curious. I was like, how does Texas factor into this? Because that's the question. We're all talking about, hey, he's comfortable there. He's been committed there. This is where he's been looking. Every time you talk to him, he lights up talking about Georgia. But it's just like when we talk about the offense or the defense, that one position, where's the weak link? And then when it comes to recruiting, it's who has his ear? Who are you going up against? And is it Auburn? Is it Alabama? Is it now suddenly Texas? It was USC. And that's why I was more curious. I'm like, how much is this? If I'm him, I go to every big game, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're seeing some of these 2026 kids decommit and some other kids decommit. Well, we'll talk about Jared Curtis in a second, but a lot of them are like, look, we're not going to fly you out here on an official visit if you're still committed to the other school. Yeah, we like doing that. We love to have you here, but you got to show us something.
Mhm.
Show me something that you are not just trying to get a free trip out of us for the biggest game of the week. And all of a sudden you see a kid decommit, or and a couple of the Georgia kids, I'm not decommitting, but my recruitment is open. You know, it's almost like being half pregnant. So it's like, yeah, I'm just kind of into it a little bit. You can recruit me, you can woo me, you can dine me, you can fly me out, and have your boys take me out and go have a fun time. But I'm still committed to Georgia. If I'm Texas, I'm like, I'm not doing that. But
yeah, make your offers.
Yeah, exactly. Hold up a big sign. Just make your damn offers. Here's my direct deposit. Here's my Venmo. Let me know what you got.
I'm committed to Georgia. I know what they're giving me. Here, everybody else, put your bids in, and then I'll figure out if I'm still half committed or fully committed.
I got an offer today. Our rivals overlords are coming in. I spoke to them today, and they're going to come down here in the next month to talk to us because our contract is up in March. And they're going to come down and they're going to wine and dine me and say, hey, stick with rivals. Be like, yeah, sure. But I'm open to negotiations. So there's this other networks that are like, hey, we like to talk to you. So yeah, I mean, I love where I'm at, but
I'm open, but
I'm committed, but like make your offers. I need that sign. I'm gonna put that on a hat. That's gonna be my recruiting hat that we go to the rivals camps and the Under Armour camps. Make your offer. I love it. All right. Well, I did invoke the name, so let's talk Justus Terry. Jared Curtis real quick. The decommitments. Ridiculously good quarterback out of the Nashville area from the class of 2026. Decommits. Jed, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, quarterbacks are a little different just because their timelines are usually accelerated, but even still, it's a long time to hold a commitment because he committed in February, March, pretty early. I know he was at G-Day as a commit, so I think, and he's said it even. He's like, I wanted, like kind of like you just said, Rowdy, I wanted to go visit other places, and I didn't want to do that while committed. So, I get it. Yeah, I know he visited USC, I think this summer. He's visited somewhere else that I just am not smart enough to remember.
Was it Oregon?
Maybe. Visited a couple places already. I think he was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So, I think Georgia's a contender because kind of like with Justus, you've already won his commitment once. And I don't think, I don't necessarily foresee any like stab changes or anything. So, I think there's a chance, but now it's, I think the graphic he posted was like Oregon and Alabama, and I think Florida State was on there, and a lot of top schools are in it. So, I think and not only that, he's going to be back for the Tennessee game. So it's not like he's decommitted and he's cut Georgia off entirely. He's still open to listening to Georgia. I just think now that it's like other schools smelling blood in the water a little bit. Kind of, it's like, okay, well, if he's decommitted, like he's clearly not comfortable enough to just say screw it, and because that's the thing, it's early and it's whatever, but also if you're truly sold on the place you want to go, you'd be like, okay, well, I really don't need to take any other visits. So, I would bet against him ending up in the class just because it's like you made the analogy before, Rowdy, of like betting Tiger versus the field when you've got 80 other golfers versus one, then like the odds tell you to bet the 80 no matter what it is. So when you've got all these other top schools, and I don't know off the top of my head which schools have a 26 commit, which schools, what top guys are committed where. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's going to be so many top schools involved trying to get this one that I would bet he ends up. Someone looks like somebody's got a future cast in for Ohio State already, or did at one point. So there's going to be a lot of competition for this one, and I think it's probably more likely he ends up elsewhere than recommitting to Georgia.
And what's also going to make I don't want to say muddy the water, but makes this kind of more interesting is the fact that we got two more cycles of transfer portals before he's enrolled somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, for sure. And then if you like, let's use Oregon for an example. Okay, if you're Oregon, you're right now and say, okay, we need a top tier 2026 quarterback. Well, what if in January a guy you really wanted in the 24 class, he goes in the portal after going 1 year and not playing, kind of like Jaden Rashada. If Oregon gets a Jaden Rashada, do you need a top flight 2026 guy as bad? Maybe not. So
you're saying Arch Manning's coming back to Georgia?
Obviously. Or like, what if in the spring window next year, a 2025 guy doesn't like where he's at and goes in the portal, and you're like, okay, well, we signed a 25 guy and then got a 25 guy in the portal. Do we need a 26 guy as bad? So I don't know. There, like you said, there's so much like he can't sign anywhere for 14 months still. So there's a lot of movement left to happen. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see when he wants to do this, because quarterbacks are usually the get on board early and help recruit around you kind of guys. I know he was doing that for Georgia, especially with some of the skill guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how long it ends up going, when he wants to take officials, when he wants to commit by. Gotcha. But yeah, it's, Georgia, obviously they got the relationship with him. They don't have to, I guess, build a relationship from nothing. They already have it. So that's a reason for optimism, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be wide open, because this kid he's an absolute stud in 2026.
I wonder if these 26 quarterbacks will monitor you're coming off Georgia having a quarterback for 2 years and Stetson Bennett, or 2.5. You're coming off Carson Beck being the quarterback 2 years. What if you're going to monitor who gets that job in the spring, maybe? Because Georgia's going to have a new quarterback next year. And will it be Stockton or will it be a young guy?
Yeah, sure.
Will it be Pugs? Will it be,
Montgomery, Rashada?
Yeah, it'd be any of those guys. And are they going to be monitoring? Okay, if it's Stockton, then I have opportunity to come in and play early. If it's this guy, then I don't have as much opportunity if he succeeds.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Well, and even to build off that, if it's Stockton and Rashada transfers, then it's like, okay, for sure. But if it's Stockton and Rashada stays, then it's like, okay, well, then it's Rashada, it's Puglisi, it's Montgomery. Then there's so many layers, and that's at every school. That's Alabama. Okay, if it's Ty Simpson could play for a year and leave, or if it's I don't even know what their quarterback. If it's Julian Sayin went to Ohio State. I don't know. There's a lot of dominoes everywhere. It's crazy, because people talk about transfer portal and coaches managing and all that kind of stuff. These recruits have got to manage it too. You've got to keep your eye on who's doing what in the portal, and how your depth chart outlook changes.
Yeah, because there's only one. I mean, when we're talking about this, we're kind of like it's more complicated, and we're like, wait, no, there's nothing complicated about Jared Curtis, because he is an Elijah Griffin. He's a Justus Terry. He is, a Zane. He is different. This kid is special. I don't talk about quarterbacks. I don't blow them up like crazy, because everyone loves a quarterback. But when you hear this kid throw the ball, you hear the ball in the air. He is a difference maker. And so you're going to fight for this kid tooth and nail and try to get him, because he's an Arch Manning. To me, he's better than Arch from what I saw. And of course, I only saw Arch in person once or twice, but this kid's nuts. No, I only saw him once. So Curtis is great, but to your point, would you say they've got to manage it? Yeah, because who's there? Yeah, maybe I can go in and beat out these other folks, but you saw how the Dylan Raiola thing worked out. It's a new deal, and he's their star guy. Now they got drubbed last week, but they thought he was the second coming. Out there in Nebraska, that worked out for him. If he'd been at Georgia, he's going head to head with Pugs. He's sitting behind two quarterback, transfer quarterback, and a guy that got there ahead of him. He's got Jared Curtis coming in behind him, but it worked out. They went to Nebraska, played right away. It's an absolute difference maker for them. So you're definitely going to go after Curtis. But again, you're only playing one quarterback at a time. When we're talking linebackers and running backs and wide receivers, Georgia's throwing sometimes to 13 different guys a game, 9 different guys a game. 4 or 5 different guys are running it. The defensive line troops in, troops out. But what was the second biggest headline out of the Georgia-Texas game? Quinn Ewers getting benched.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's like, holy shit, that never happens.
Yep.
So,
And might I add, I almost had with Jared Curtis, kind of like Jed, one of the cooler. And I thought about this yesterday when you posted this in a work group meet. I believe it was I think Georgia was playing Alabama in a doubleheader in baseball. I'm sitting there filming Colby Branch round the bases after hitting, I think it was a walk-off grand slam. And I get a call from Roddy right after being like, and I'm like, hey, I got the home run. Don't worry about it. I got it. And he was like, we need a commit story because Jared Curtis just committed. And
I was in Lowe's.
Yeah.
Commit story in Lowe's.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm on it. So we got the story up pretty quick. And then Georgia won the second game. And I finished the baseball article and I went downtown Athens to go eat at Amici's with a few friends. I walk in and who's sitting there with his family? Mike Bobo. It's Jared Curtis. And Kirby was apparently like just in there like 5 minutes before I walked out. And I remember posting that in the group and they were like, that'd be the most epic interview ever and stuff like that. And
you guys get him on a plane.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do it with Bobo right there, but I
Mike could have killed you.
Yeah, exactly. But I just remember I kind of walked in and he doesn't know my name, but I just remember he kind of locked eyes. He was like, oh, I know this guy. What the hell is he doing here? Probably in his mind. And I was like, I just went and sat down behind him. But I mean, it was a super cool kind of funny moment when I thought about that yesterday when Jed posted that.
Yeah, like James Caraway. He's like DJ Lagway. Like, yeah. Although that dude's going to be a pain in the butt in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I was about to say, I got credentialed to James. I can't come to your game, unfortunately. Callaway versus Morgan County next week for the region championship. But
if he can get the ball off,
yeah, to see how fast
he does. I mean, that kid is stellar.
Florida's
and he's gonna push it downfield.
Yeah,
about that.
And it'll either be complete or it'll be a 15-yard penalty. That's if I'm playing Georgia, that's all I do. Everything is 4 verts, 9 routes. Fling it down there and let your guys get mugged by the Georgia defensive backs and get 15 yards a pop.
Especially having 2 defensive backs out. Why wouldn't you?
I'm just saying. There was we got no fears. I'm like, you better have a little bit of fear. Better just be careful. So I'm with you there. All right, Jared Curtis out of the mix, but the news from this evening: Jaron Sagapolutelli, quarterback commit.
Sure.
And I know that's not how to say his name, but I don't know how to say it. So I
was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Roddy.
I don't even know if Jerome is right, but we're going to say that the Cal verbal commit from Hawaii, pro-style quarterback, 6'2", 190 pounds, just announced that on Twitter that he has an offer from the University of Georgia. Trent, what the hell's going on there? You got a quarterback committed.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I would say that Georgia is either worried about Montgomery's recovery or worried about one of the quarterbacks hitting the portal if somebody's the quarterback or this guy's not a quarterback. So if Stockton wins the quarterback, the other one leaves, this one leaves, Kirby wants 4 quarterbacks on campus. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
And so whatever way that happens, you have 2. If you have 1 coming in, you have 1 departing. You got 3 on campus. That means you're worried about 1 that's on campus, maybe filling his way in a transfer portal. That would be my guess. And also, this guy's just a different style quarterback. He's not your traditional, drop back pro style quarterback that Georgia's used to. He's a little different than Ryan Montgomery or Pug or any of those guys. If you just watch the film, he's more of a dual threat guy. I know he's listed as pro style, but he's a guy that can hurt you with his legs, and just from the little film that I've been able to watch. So yeah, I mean, another lefty from Hawaii. we don't know any of those that beat Georgia from Alabama. So yeah, it's we'll see what comes out of it. I know Oregon's on him too. Oregon's recently offered, and they're pushing too with him being out west. Can Georgia get him on campus? I think that's the big thing. Can Georgia get him on campus and quickly, because this is a 25 guy that'll probably enroll early. So you got to get him on campus quickly.
Yeah, and I spoke with Ryan Montgomery's dad tonight, and he said, Georgia's been transparent about it. They're wanting to maybe add a second quarterback. Zero concerns as far as the Montgomerys have been concerned. They this isn't like, what the hell are you doing kind of thing. That's
my first thought is what's going on with Ryan.
Yeah, and to follow, I asked how Ryan Montgomery's doing in rehab, and I was told he's ahead of schedule and doing very well. So, and again, I think quarterback, he tore his ACL in, I want to say, early September. So, by the time spring practice starts in March, he's probably doing some stuff. Quarterbacks don't get hit in practice anyway. So, he's not like he'll be immobile until the fall. But yeah, just going back to this, I think you want another quarterback. And like you said, Trent, Carson Beck's gone. If a quarterback hits the portal, then you've got, let's say Stockton wins the job and Rashada leaves. You've got Stockton, Puglisi, an injured Ryan Montgomery, and that's your 3 scholarship quarterbacks. So it makes sense if you believe a guy might leave to try to add a second high school guy. You can maybe get a portal guy if it comes down to it as well. Although that could be a hard sell if there's not a clear path to playing time as a quarterback. But yeah, it makes sense. And like you said, I think the biggest thing is how do you get this guy on campus from that's a hell of a flight from, I don't know if there's any direct flights from Athens to Ewa Beach, but I doubt it. So yeah, if you get him on campus, you got 3 game days left before signing day. So I would imagine they'd try to get him for one of those, probably Tennessee, because the whole world's going to be at Tennessee, and see where it goes. But it's interesting, but it also, it makes sense if you break it down piece by piece.
Also, if this 105 passes, your walk-on quarterbacks typically you're going to have open scholarships. So that could be pushing the quarterback number from 4 to 5, saying, "Oh, I want 5 scholarship quarterbacks on 105 rather than 85." So either way, it looks to me like they're going for 2 25 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down. I'm fine with it. I will say you made a good point saying that Oregon's on him. Alabama was the stalking horse for the longest time. If Alabama offered a kid, then everybody else did.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody tried to get him. Georgia was that way for a while, and is to, and it still is to an extent. But I tell you, there's a guy at Oregon that was at Georgia. His name's Marshall Palchow. And he's a chief of staff out there. He's one of the best talent analysts I've ever seen. And if Oregon wants him, then I want him. I'm just telling you. I would duplicate whatever Marshall's big board is. I would just duplicate it, Xerox it, and I don't even have to do my own homework. I would cheat off him, and I'm gonna get an A- if I'm cheating off Marshall. So if they like the kid from Hawaii, I do too. Didn't take much. All right, let's go a little bit quicker with some of these other guys I want to mention and bring up real fast. Talk to me about Landon, because this kid's fast, Lance.
One of the better games I saw. Jed was there too. 2 weeks ago, it was North Oconee versus Eastside. I had never seen Landon play in real life. I've seen him in practice. I've seen him in 7-on-7s, and I finally got to see him in full pads, and he just kicks it into another gear when he gets the ball. It's just yard. It's just the way he tracks the ball, the way he catches the ball, and then he just finds open space and yards after the catch was just absolutely fun to watch. And he's got great hands. He's quick. He's really, really twitchy. And I think everyone wants to compare him to Ladd, but Ladd and
right.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But I can't put my finger on the Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett was who he kind of reminded me of
because he's white.
Yeah, another white receiver. But just in terms of his,
6'5", Ted. I mean, Lance.
you what?
I said he's a lot taller than Landon.
Yeah, I mean that is true. But I'm just talking about just in terms of of his ability to just track the ball and he just has soft hands. I mean it was a difference maker in that game early on against Eastside.
And I'll add one thing real quick. He's bigger than 174 pounds. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Lance?
Yeah, I was just looking at that going, we're
That is
so
a very outdated. I mean, he's a good, looking. You don't look at him like, oh man, 174 pounds at 6'1". He is a rail. No, he's a well put together kid. So
yeah,
big playability.
Text him and get a weight on him, and I'll go in and change that. They hate when we change stuff like that, but that's just ridiculous. That's from too long ago. But you can see that kid's neck, and his chin. That's not a 175-pound neck. He's got a linebacker neck.
And they had his speeds up where he hit over 21 miles per hour.
I was just Trent. You went right to my question. I'm like, we had that post on the board. He's one of the top 5 players in the nation running. And I was going to ask you what it was. Over 21.
It's impressive.
That's football speed. I don't care what color he is. That kid can move. Again, there were days. How many touchdowns does he have in the year? Because when Trent does following the future, it's like, Landon Rolden,
I don't know, like
three touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground. I'm like, and
they're like 8-0, and he's averaging like 3 a game. So I'd say over 20.
Might have to do a little max preps there. But he's not the only wide receiver that the quarterbacks would like to have in this class. They'd also like to get this guy here as well. I know we've seen Landon many times. We've also seen CJ Wiley many times. CJ's not a great interview. He doesn't give you a whole lot, but don't shoot your head.
That is not a kid I'd want to interview on an airplane.
Yeah.
But
it's a kid you'd want to sit next to on an airplane because you'd get a lot of sleep.
Now here's a Michael Bennett. Here's a 6'4", 196 kid. Landon reminds me of TK Tavares.
It's not bad.
That's a comparison.
Talking about the soft hands, body size, just
Georgia needs somebody with soft hands, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Latest on CJ Wiley, the FSU commit. FSU is not exactly killing it.
Not exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's underselling it at this point.
They ain't exactly completing passes either.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes it works in a kid's favor because he's like, man, they can't complete a pass. They're terrible. I'm going to get to play right away.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You can sell it as a coach. You can sell it no matter what. You can say, okay, our passing game is putting up great numbers, or you can be like, hey, man, what do you think Hugh Freeze sold all these freshmen last year? Dude, our passing game sucks. We need you here to throw. And Cam Coleman's catching touchdowns. Malcolm Simmons is catching touchdowns. And now when you're Auburn and you're trying to flip Deuce Knight, what are you selling? Man, we got all these receivers. Our quarterback play sucks. We need you here. So, if you're a good coach, or a good recruiter, you can figure out how to sell it based on, what you got going on. But yeah, I mean, Georgia's been all over CJ Wiley. Trent, I think he told you he's going to be back in Athens. Right?
No, he didn't tell me that, but
he said he's not going to be at Florida State, I think, right? And that was
I asked him. I said, "Well, do you have any plans to take a visit to Florida State? The school you?" Because he kept on telling me after every question, he'd he'd answer like 2 or 3 word answer, and then he'd say, "But I'm fully committed to Florida State." And I said, "Okay, well, do you have any plans to visit the fully committed Florida State?" And he said, "No, I don't have any plans to visit them again." And I was like, "Okay, all right, cool." But
Look at AJ Bolden part 2.
Watching him play, he draws a lot of attention, which really opens up stuff for another Georgia commit, Ethan Barbour. But he draws a lot of attention, draws a lot of over the top. I think he's 6'4". He needs to be able to high point the ball a little better, catches the ball into the body a little more than I like. But he's more Fred Gibson-ish than the true big receiver that's going to high point it over somebody in the end zone. But I think he can become that guy. He shows, he like last week they high pointed the ball in the end zone and he got knocked away by a small corner. I just think he just needs to be more physical with his hands. But he's got the looks of a wide receiver that is going to do major damage at the next level.
That's what happens. Those kids start out. It's usually good enough in high school. You've seen this, Trent. All the time. You don't have to be that physical because you're just so much better.
Yeah.
And then you go to Georgia and you're trying to take it away from KJ Bolden, and Bolden just rips it away from you. And you'll watch these kids between their sophomore and junior year, or freshman, junior year, all of a sudden they become, I don't say mean, but they bulk up a little bit and get nastier fighting for the ball.
Mm-hmm. And he could use some, bulking up. He's 6'4", that's accurate, 196, but he looks like he could hold 220. He looks like he could hold like a Calvin Johnson type frame. Like, I'm not comparing his game to him, but just talking about the body frame. But he looks like he could put on weight. The one that Ethan Barbour don't need to put in. That Joker is built like a dead-end fullback back in 1986. That's going to just plow your ass over. That's the way he's built. He's a big physical guy. But CJ looked like he could add some muscle at the next level. But he is a great prospect. I think Georgia would love to get him on campus just because he's a different type receiver than the other ones, or could be a different type receiver than others.
Well, you had a 6'4" guy, and he's indefinitely suspended. So maybe you get another guy, kind of that same thing. But that's another guy who needed to get a little bit tougher on the field. Colby Young, we expected him to come in and just be able to rip the balls away, and
he showed signs.
Georgia needs people that can catch the damn ball now.
Yeah, they just need. I would have never said, and this is different, but I would have never said Georgia's top receiver is Arion Smith. I would have never said that. Like, in the past 4 years, I would have never.
I put it out last week, and I got nothing but people going, he's the worst, and I'm like, yeah, he drops some passes, but he's also your leading receiver.
Yeah. And he's a better route runner than Dylan Bell. He's a better route runner than Dylan Bell.
I want to see. Do you have his stats in front of you? Because I know this was not a good game for him, even though he did have a number of catches. I know.
We talking about for this game or the season?
No, for the season so far.
Let's see. He's 29 receptions for 444 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All right, through 7 games, you got 444. He could be a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, but you imagine how many – if he would have caught 85% of the balls that he's dropped.
Alabama Bowl.
Yeah, that was right. That was right in front of me. And what was that, like a 60, 65, 70-yard shot play?
Just a straight go route. Come on.
Yeah, it was a perfectly placed ball by Carson Beck. He just dropped it. Simple as that.
Yeah, so now he's like 520,
He'd have 600 yards if he would have caught the ball.
Yeah.
But again, my point is, as much as people I'm like, oh, don't throw it to 11. I'm like, he's catching, and he's also blocking better than anybody on the field. He lays people out, even though he's 170 pounds wet. He's one of the fastest guys in college football, and he's your leading receiver. So I know it's not crazy, but that's just the point that the CJ Wileys, the Roldans, last Nitro Tuggles, Sokovie White in the last group, they're going to need some of these young receivers to step up. So getting CJ Wiley is of the utmost importance. All right, last guy of the night. Let's talk real quick about Christian Gass, because you guys went to see him recently too.
Yeah, he reminded me of kind of like Jalen Walker, just frame wise and utilization wise, because he comes off the edge, he plays middle linebacker for east side and plays both well, and he will mess you up when he gets to you. He's a very, very, very violent tackler. That sounds like so stupid and rudimentary, but he hits you hard. That's what you like, those things in a linebacker. So he because this was the night before the Mississippi State game, and we thought he might be showing up there. He did not. He went to Tennessee for, I want to say, the Florida game maybe, but I'm expecting him. I've been told a couple times to expect him back for the Tennessee game by some sources. So Makes sense. I mean, we saw that with Eric Winters and Anquan Fegans showing up. I think Georgia believes they can flip him. I think there's also, you look at Anthony Crua, you look at Tavion Wallace, guys who did show up for that Mississippi State game. So I think those two might be a little more likely. But I really like Christian Gass's game, and Georgia's in his ear. He's listening, and you got to keep. I think he did show up for I guess Tennessee Tech. So he's listening, and you got to keep chipping away and see what happens. But I think of those three, Georgia ends up landing one of them by the end of this thing.
The thing that I like about Gas is just he's very long. Like his wing, I don't know his wingspan, but I mean it's got to be pretty impressive. And just kind of watching him, he was going up sometimes against Kamari Brooks, who Georgia just offered out of North Oconee, and that was a battle. And he won half of them, he lost half of them, but he's super. I think he started out, from what his coach told me when I went over the summer, I think Gas started out as a defensive lineman, and then they moved him to safety, and now he's kind of Georgia likes him as I think Jen they like him at kind of like Walker, kind of rotating around outside and the inside.
I think so. Yeah, I think that would be kind of the vision. Which, if you look at a guy like Zayden Walker, I think Zayden Walker is best as the Quay Walker, like middle linebacker, come down and mess you up in the hole kind of guy. So that would be a good. I think Gass's skill set would complement Walker's pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, he committed to Tennessee. Was it right after his official visit
in July? Yeah.
Yeah. When was his OV to Georgia? I want
to say it was that second weekend of June, if I remember right.
Yeah. So obviously, getting him back on campus was huge. And obviously, if they can get him on campus and kind of show him, hey, we're going up against the team, and say they have another performance like that, is that something enough that could sway a kid like that? Who knows?
If you're trying to bring in a Jalen Walker type player that can play, inside out, I think Christian Gass is probably the best one of the three. I think the other two are more inside, only, and maybe can stretch it, but I think Christian Gass fits that mold better. And I think Georgia brought in some guys in the last class that could play that, Chris Cole and Justin Williams. I think both those guys could play a similar role, but Christian Gass fits that a lot better. Chris Cole's a baller too, but it's besides the fact.
I want to see Chris Cole actually getting some real snaps, and then I know he's not a freshman, but I thought Damian Wilson this past weekend was starting to be the guy that we expected him to be.
Mm-hmm.
Can you Chris Cole's just coming in on passing downs, and I understand that they got a package in for him and the other guys, but you can tell when you really have a feel of what the offense is doing when you come in and he plays 21 snaps and all 21 are drop back throws.
Yep.
So you have a feel of what they're doing on offense. So your game plan's good when that happens.
Yeah, it's like or you bring in a linebacker, he played every run. It's like, yeah, he split time. He only got in for like 9 plays, but they were all 9 runs. You're like, okay, that's a good one. And the flip side of that was a few weeks ago. It's like the only time Nate Frazier played. Nate Frazier, every time he got in, it was a run. He was not in for any passes. Georgia's running back. So it's like, and the Cash Jones was in on only pass plays. Now, half those passes were going to him because he's really good at what he does. But you can look at it and say, 32's on there. This is going to be a pass. 3's out there. They're going to run the ball. And I never want to say somebody was predictable because you can't do that. But then the next week, it was completely different. But Trent, you nailed it. That's one of the cool things the snap count shows you. So we published the snap count this morning from the Georgia-Texas game. And Georgia just put out a great little 6-minute video of highlights from that Georgia-Texas game. Definitely worth your time to go watch that. Anyway, that's all the time we have for recruiting this week. We will be back in a couple weeks to talk more recruiting. It's getting closer. Next time we do this, will we be? Yeah, 2 weeks. We'll be in November with just signing days of December. So we're getting closer to the end of this. That's why, when they offer a 2025 quarterback, it gets interesting. And some of the biggest dominoes have fallen down. I'm just thankful Elijah Griffin committed now, so we're not trying to cover him and Justus Terry on signing day and whoever else Kirby throws in at the last second. So, but maybe we need to see if this Cal quarterback might flip. Maybe he might have a signing day ceremony in Hawaii that I need to go see.
Yeah, that would be your cross to bear.
It would. It would. Yeah. I would do it for the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
December in Hawaii.
Get like a 5-hour layover in Vegas on the way there. You have to suffer through that, and it's tough. It's not glamorous.
I would have to leave a day early because that connecting flight in Vegas takes a while.
Right.
Yeah. You might be on a flight with Justus Terry. You just never know.
I would be on a flight with Justus Terry. We go for the trifecta.
Somehow Justus Terry's randomly going to Hawaii in December because why not?
No, he's probably going to Vegas for something. Hey, Drew Torek, also, thank you for being a subscriber to the channel. It means a lot to us. And, you say thanks to us. No, it's thanks to you. So we really appreciate it. All right, y'all take care. We'll see you in a couple weeks.